there. I'm Sarah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we are going to talk about scheduling in doubt. This maybe sounds kind of crazy to you, and that's okay. That's exactly what we're going for here. But here's what I would like to propose. I would like to propose scheduling in your doubt into your calendar, both on the short term and the long term. And the reason I want to propose this is because you and I and everyone who is an entrepreneur, or anyone who is doing something new, has a lot of doubt. We have a lot of questions. We have a lot of stopping and starting. We have a lot of, should I do it like this or like that? And that kind of stuff takes a crap ton of time. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of mental space, even if you don't physically sit and write down all your doubts for hours on end, because you probably don't. What it does is slows down the process. Doubt is like pouring maple syrup over you while you're trying to run. It's going to get real sticky real fast. And it just sounds awful running through maple syrup. So what I'd like to propose is a different kind of approach. And the way this came up is in talking with a couple of clients last week. We were talking about their core offers. One is running a group program. Another is starting to work with a new set of clients. Like, she's had a business and now she's sort of adjusting her audience, and those people are starting to come in. But in talking about it, one of the things we were talking about was, the one client said to me, but how do I feel like I haven't gone all in. I feel like I haven't really gone totally forward and decided that this is how I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it, and stuck to it, because I keep thinking about it and doubting and doubting and doubting and trying to do it right. And then I'll start and then I stop and then I start and I stop. And so what I proposed to her this week was scheduling in her question time. And so for her, because it's a main offer and because it was a big part of something she was going to change to offer this group program, what I proposed to her was a long-term pause in her questioning. So I said to her, why don't you decide today, and part of this trick is the decision, right? Decide today that you're not going to question it, that you're not going to doubt it, that you're just going to let yourself try it and see what happens for, she and I decided 6 months. Oftentimes people want 3. I don't feel like 3 is long enough, but I'm willing to give it to you if you want it. I'd prefer 6. But here's the thing. What I had her do was literally go into her calendar and pick a date 6 months from now where she could circle in blackout time to worry, to have the worries, to be like, oh my gosh, did I do this right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? But what we did by doing that was give her a way when the doubts come up in her brain to be like, oh wait, those aren't right now. I have a time for that. This is like block scheduling at its finest, right? Or time blocking. When you go and you look at productivity stuff for time blocking, it's like, give yourself these distinct blocks. And then when something comes up that belongs in a different block, you get to look at your calendar and go, oh, here's the place I'm going to do that. Your brain knows you have a space for it and you don't over worry it. This is the same freaking thing. It's just about something that is not nearly as concrete. The other way you can play this, so I have this client that's scheduled her doubt 6 months from now. Is she going to doubt in between? Absolutely. Is she going to question things in between? Sure. But what's going to happen is she's going to be like, no. I built this 6-month window. And if in 6 months I feel really different about this, then great. But she's going to let herself say and do all the things for the next 6 months. And then she can poke at it, right? It is both in exercise in commitment and in, just giving your doubt a new home, besides following you around like a obnoxious puppy, right? Like, not that puppies are bad, but like sometimes they're at your heels and you're like, oh my God, enough. So the other way you can think about this, and I do this for myself sometimes, is like legitimately time blocking. So, like, I have a dear friend who taught me this years ago. When she is feeling a lot of doubt, or she's like really worried about a new thing she's doing, or she's really concerned and she finds she's questioning, what she does is give herself 10 minutes a day sometimes. I tend to do it like a couple days a week, maybe two. I try not to do it more than that, because otherwise I feel like I'm like wallowing in it and I don't want to do that. But she'll schedule in like 15 minutes into her calendar a couple times a week to like have all the worry thoughts, to just have them and let them pour out and be like, this is my worry block, right? And this is where I'm going to sit here and be like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know if anybody's going to want it. Who's going to buy it? I don't think anybody's going to pay me. And just like put it all out and entirely feel it. And then when the timer goes off, A, you've gotten it all out and your brain is like, see, she heard me. And B, you're like, oh, well, none of that's actually true. Like, I can do this. I can do the next step. You know, there are people I help, and you can move on, right? You don't have to let it like poke at you all day long. You can give it a distinct time and place and just let it be there. But having these little worry blocks in is kind of a magical thing, because then what you're doing is you're sucking it out of the other times where you're trying to get something done. And instead the worry is like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? Do you think we belong here? Do we belong here? Do we belong here? Man, give that another place to live. I come in and out of needing those blocks. Like last week, I was in a place where I really needed them. This week, I don't know that I am. Sometimes it's week to week. Sometimes I go months without needing them, where I'm just like, you know what? This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm going to do it. It is what it is. Right? So it is a blend of scheduling, but deciding. So often I find, we think we can decide once what we're going to do, and that's enough. And that's not enough. We have to redecide. We have to recommit constantly, right? This is the trouble with entrepreneurship. So for you, how can you decide to commit? Where do you want to schedule time to worry? How far do you want to do it? How do you want to handle it in the short term and the long term? So that what's not happening is that your worry just wanders around and gets into trouble. It's like, leaving a puppy unattended in a room full of children's toys. Yeah, they're going to eat stuff and socks and shoes. They're going to eat stuff they shouldn't. The doubt gets to wander around unattended. It's going to cause trouble and monkey wrenches and pour sticky stuff into places it shouldn't. So let us instead give it a place. If it's a big thing, give yourself larger time, right? If you're going to commit to something, commit for 6 months or 3 months or whatever, and then decide you're going to worry about it again. I literally schedule it in my calendar so I can see it, and that my brain is like, okay, I see the place for this. Schedule it. And then if you find you're still sort of getting bogged down by day-to-day questions, day-to-day worries, give yourself space in your calendar day to day to just be like, well, here's all my worries. I'm going to pour them all out. And now I'm going to move on. Right? That way you don't have to have them dogging you all day, which is the whole point of this. So if you have questions about this, or if it works really well for you, I would love to hear about it. Reach out. If you love the podcast and you are finding it really useful, we would love to hear that. Feel free to send some feedback or rate or review it on iTunes or wherever you're listening. That's a huge help for us as people come to find the podcast. Feel free to also to share it with friends or people you think it would be useful to. I get that a lot from people that are like, well, I got this from so-and-so who shared it with me through this way. I love that. That's like giving gifts. Like, that's magic. And if you are not in my Facebook group, it is also called Uncomplicating Business for Teachers, Helpers, and Givers. And we do a ton of good stuff in there. You should come play, even just for the free trainings that are sort of saved and backlogged, and the free videos in there alone are worth all the time and energy you would spend to come get them. So come play with us. If you need me, you can send an email to sarah@torpycoaching.com. If you want to see some of the offers I have, from group coaching to one-on-one to courses and all that stuff, you can visit my website, which is torpycoaching.com. Good gravy. And until then, I will see you next week.